Have you ever looked around your home, quiet, familiar, full of memories, and wondered, am I truly living well on my own? Living alone in our later years can bring both freedom and challenge. It offers space for peace, reflection, and independence. But it can also bring moments of uncertainty, loneliness, or questions we never thought we'd have to answer alone. The good news? Thriving in this stage of life isn't about doing more. It's about doing wisely. And sometimes avoiding a few simple missteps can bring more ease, comfort, and joy than we ever expected. In this video, we'll gently explore some of the things that many older adults overlook when living solo. Things that, once noticed, can truly make life feel lighter and more fulfilling. So if you're ready to take small but meaningful steps toward a life of greater peace and purpose, you're in the right place. And if any part of today's journey resonates with you, feel free to like, subscribe, or simply stay with us through the end. Your time here matters, and it just might lead you to a new perspective. Let's begin together. Number 1, staying connected, avoiding complete isolation. There's a quiet danger that often creeps in during our later years: isolation. It doesn't announce itself with noise or drama. It slips in slowly, subtly, until one day you realize that the silence in your home isn't peaceful anymore. It's hollow. The phone hasn't rung in a while, the doorbell stays silent, and the days begin to blur. I once heard a story about Mr. Harold, a retired postman who had always been surrounded by people during his working years. But after retirement, little by little, the world seemed to shrink. No more daily routes, no more casual chats at doorsteps. At first, he enjoyed the quiet, but over time, the quiet became lonely, and the loneliness became heavy. Isolation doesn't just affect the mind. It reaches into the soul. It can dim the light inside you, the one that comes from laughter, shared stories, the warmth of human touch. That's why staying connected isn't a luxury, it's a lifeline. But here's the good news. You don't need to be surrounded by a crowd to feel connection. Start small. A weekly phone call with a friend, a walk to the local library, join a community center, or even a virtual group that shares your interests. It could be a knitting circle, a book club, or even a gardening group online. You see, Harold eventually took up birdwatching with a small local group. Just once a week. That little ritual brought him not only back to nature, but back to people. It brought laughter back into his life, and he told me, it's not about how many people you talk to. It's about feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling part of something. So don't wait for others to reach out. Take that first step, because every moment shared with someone, whether over a cup of tea, a heartfelt email, or a walk in the park, is a thread in the fabric of joy. And joy, even in small doses, can reignite the purpose and wonder in your life. Staying connected isn't about avoiding loneliness. It's about reclaiming your life. Number 2, prioritizing your health. When you live alone, it's easy to let the days blend together. There's no one checking in to ask if you've taken your medication or reminding you to book that checkup you've been meaning to schedule. And sometimes you might think, I'll get to it next week. But weeks have a way of slipping by quietly. I once read about a man named Walter, a retired bus driver from Oregon, who used to say, I feel fine, I'll go next month. That next month turned into a year. What started as a small ache in his back became something far more serious, something that could have been managed if only he'd listened sooner. Walter later shared his story not out of regret, but as a gentle warning to others. Don't wait, your health is your freedom. Living alone means you have to become your own best advocate. Set reminders on your phone or jot appointments on a calendar. Keep a small notebook on your kitchen table where you track your blood pressure, your medications, your daily walks. These simple actions are more powerful than you think. But good health isn't just physical. Your emotional well-being matters just as much. Living alone can sometimes bring feelings of loneliness, restlessness, or even sadness, especially in the quiet evenings. And keeping those emotions to yourself can be a heavy burden. Don't carry it alone. A phone call to a friend, a chat with a neighbor, or a heartfelt conversation with a counselor can be the very thing that brings relief and lightness. Even a 10-minute walk outside, feeling the sunlight on your face, listening to the birds, can lift your spirits and reconnect you to the world. Think of every healthy choice, every moment of movement, every act of self-care as a gift you're giving to yourself. Not because you have to, but because you deserve to feel your best. When you honor your health, body, mind, and spirit, you're not just surviving, you're laying the foundation for joy, independence, and the freedom to keep writing your story your way. Number 3, making safety a priority. When you've been living independently for years, it's natural to feel capable and confident. You've cooked 1,000 meals, climbed those stairs countless times, and probably know every inch of your home like the back of your hand. But as the seasons of life change, even familiar routines can carry quiet risks. And that's why safety deserves your gentle attention. I remember the story of Margaret, a spirited 76-year-old who loved baking in her cozy kitchen. One afternoon, she slipped on a bit of water near the sink. It wasn't a serious fall, thank goodness. But what shook her most was realizing she couldn't reach the phone. She sat there for over 3 hours before someone came by. That moment changed her perspective. Soon after, she invested in a simple emergency response device, just a little pendant with a button, and it brought her something priceless: peace of mind. Making your home safer doesn't require a massive overhaul. Sometimes it's the smallest changes that carry the most impact. Think about your lighting. Are your hallways and staircases bright enough, especially at night? A single step in the dark can lead to a serious injury. Installing night lights or motion sensor lights isn't just practical, it's a quiet act of self-care. And don't overlook home security, not out of fear, but for reassurance. Whether it's a camera at the door, a check-in call from a neighbor, or even just locking up a little earlier in the evening, these are simple ways to protect the life you've built. Safety isn't about losing your independence, it's about preserving it. When you take steps to protect yourself, you're not being overly cautious. You're showing love to your future self. You're choosing to create an environment where you feel confident, protected, and truly at home. Because in the end, feeling safe isn't just about preventing accidents. It's about making room for more freedom, more peace, and more joy in every single day you wake up in the place you call your own. Number 4, avoiding unhealthy habits. Living alone offers a beautiful kind of freedom, the freedom to shape your days just the way you like them. But sometimes, when no one's watching, it's easy to let go of the routines that once kept us grounded. Without a partner to cook with or a friend to nudge us off the couch, even the strongest of us can quietly slip into habits that don't serve our well-being. I remember reading about Elaine, a 74-year-old woman from Minnesota who had recently lost her husband. At first, the silence in her home felt comforting, a space to grieve and reflect. But over time, that silence grew heavier. Meals became less frequent, often replaced by packaged snacks. Days blurred together, and her favorite chair became her constant companion. Elaine wasn't lazy. She was simply trying to cope in the only way she knew how. But eventually her energy dipped, her mood darkened, and her doctor noticed changes in her health. What changed her course wasn't a grand transformation, but a single decision. One morning she made herself a warm breakfast, just eggs, toast, and a bit of fruit. The next day she took a slow walk around the block. Then she pulled out her knitting basket, something she hadn't touched in months. It wasn't dramatic, it wasn't perfect. But day by day, she felt more like herself again. That's the lesson. Your life doesn't need to be a picture of discipline. But small choices, healthy meals, a bit of movement, or something as simple as stepping outside for 5 minutes can make a world of difference. You don't have to change everything. Just choose one thing. One step that says, I care about myself today. Because living alone doesn't mean living without support. When you show up for yourself in small, kind ways, you create a life of quiet strength and steady joy. You gift yourself the energy, clarity, and vitality to savor these years, not just pass through them. Number 5, reassessing your home. Our homes are more than just walls and windows. They hold the echoes of laughter, the scent of old recipes, the quiet moments of everyday life. So it's no wonder that many older adults feel deeply connected to the place they've spent decades building a life in. But as the years go by, it's worth pausing to ask, does this home still serve me the way it used to? I once read about Dorothy, an 80-year-old retired librarian who had lived in her two-story house for over 40 years. It was where she raised her children, celebrated holidays, and tended her garden with love. After her husband passed and the children moved away, she found herself alone with too much space and too much to manage. She pushed through the daily chores, climbing stairs with aching knees, mowing the lawn she no longer had the strength for, all because she felt it was her duty to stay. Letting go felt like I was abandoning the life I built, she once said. But as time wore on, Dorothy began to feel more burdened than blessed. The upkeep became exhausting. The silence, once comforting, began to weigh on her. One spring afternoon, after much thought and a few heartfelt conversations, she decided to move into a smaller sunlit apartment closer to a park. And almost overnight, her spirit lifted. She had more energy, more peace, and more time for the things she truly enjoyed: reading, painting, and afternoon tea with friends. Downsizing isn't the answer for everyone, but reassessing your living space is not about loss. It's about choosing comfort over obligation. It's about asking, is my home still my haven, or has it become a weight I no longer need to carry? If you choose to stay, perhaps bringing in help for yard work or cleaning is all you need. If you choose to move, do so knowing that memories don't live in square footage. They live in your heart. Your home should support your joy, not demand your strength. At this stage of life, you deserve to live in a space that gives you room to breathe, to rest, and to thrive. Number 6, finding a sense of purpose. There comes a quiet moment in life, especially after retirement or the loss of a loved one, when the house feels too still and the days begin to blur. Without the structure of work or the familiar rhythm of family life, many older adults find themselves asking, what now? And that question, though simple, carries a deep weight. But let me gently remind you, your life still holds tremendous value. Purpose doesn't disappear with age. In fact, this stage of life might be the most meaningful chapter yet, because now you get to choose your own rhythm. You get to ask yourself not what's expected of me, but what brings me joy. I think of George, a retired mechanic in his late 70s. After his wife passed, he spent a long stretch of time just going through the motions. One morning, he saw a flyer at the library about mentoring high school students who were interested in trades. Unsure but curious, he signed up. At first, it was just one afternoon a week, but something changed. He wasn't just teaching kids how to use a wrench. He was sharing his story, his failures, his victories, his humor. Those sessions lit a spark in him. He had a reason to get up, to show up, to be seen. Purpose doesn't have to be big or loud. Maybe it's finally picking up that paintbrush you tucked away years ago. Maybe it's tending to a small garden or learning a new language just because you can. Maybe it's writing letters to your grandchildren or volunteering at the local animal shelter. The point isn't what you do, it's that it means something to you. Living alone can be a quiet blessing, a blank canvas where you choose the colors, and in that stillness, you have space to rediscover what sets your soul alight. Each day you wake up is a chance, not just to pass the time, but to fill it with something meaningful. You're not done growing, you're not done giving, and you are certainly not done living. Number 7, embracing help to strengthen independence. There's a quiet kind of pride that comes with living independently. The ability to cook your own meals, manage your home, and make your own choices. It's a freedom you've earned. But sometimes that pride whispers a message that isn't always helpful. You should do it all on your own. Let me gently challenge that idea. True independence isn't about doing everything by yourself. It's about knowing when to reach out and realizing that accepting support doesn't make you weaker. In fact, it often makes you stronger. I remember the story of Lillian, a retired teacher who lived alone in the home she'd raised her children in. Fiercely independent, she resisted asking for help, even when everyday tasks began to wear her down. She worried that her children might think she was declining, or worse, that she couldn't manage anymore. But one day, her daughter noticed the strain in her voice during a phone call. They talked, heart to heart. Lillian admitted she'd been feeling overwhelmed but didn't want to be a burden. Her daughter simply smiled and said, "Helping you doesn't make me worry. It makes me feel closer to you." So Lillian began with small steps, letting her grandson mow the lawn, asking a neighbor to pick up groceries, hiring help for heavier chores. And to her surprise, instead of feeling less independent, she felt lighter, freer, more able to enjoy the life she had worked so hard to build. You see, receiving help isn't about giving up control. It's about choosing to preserve your energy for the things that matter most. It's about staying connected, reducing stress, and recognizing that you are surrounded by people, friends, neighbors, family, who genuinely want to be there for you. You don't have to carry every weight alone. Letting others in isn't a sign of weakness. It's a wise, graceful act of strength. So if there's something on your mind today, a task that's too much, a worry you've been holding, consider sharing it. You may find not only the help you need, but also a deeper connection than you ever expected. Number 8, maintaining a nurturing home environment. When you live alone, your home becomes more than just a place to sleep. It becomes your companion, your shelter, your reflection. And while there's beauty in having the freedom to arrange your space however you choose, there's also a quiet risk. It's easy to let the little things slide. I once read about Irene, a warm-hearted woman in her early 80s. After her husband passed, the home they once shared slowly began to feel unfamiliar. At first, she left a few papers on the dining table, then a few dishes in the sink. Before long, unfinished projects stacked up, corners filled with clutter, and the once light-filled rooms began to feel heavy. She didn't notice how much the mess was affecting her until a dear friend came to visit and gently offered to help tidy up. As they worked side by side, clearing shelves, opening curtains, letting the light back in, Irene felt something shift. "It was like I could finally breathe again," she said. "You see, our surroundings whisper to us. A cluttered space can quietly echo stress or sadness, while a clean and cared-for home can feel like a warm hug. It doesn't mean everything must be perfect or spotless. It simply means creating an environment that lifts your spirit rather than weighing it down." Start small. Clear the entryway so you're greeted with ease, not overwhelm. Organize a kitchen drawer, light a candle in the evening, or add a soft blanket to your favorite chair. These small gestures send a powerful message to yourself. I matter, my peace matters. Your home should support your well-being, not demand it. It should be a place where you feel safe, soothed, and gently inspired. Whether you're sipping tea by the window or curling up with a book, let your space remind you each day that you deserve comfort, beauty, and peace. Because when your home feels like a sanctuary, your heart can rest and your mind can bloom. Number 9, structuring your time. One of the quiet challenges of living alone is the way time begins to stretch and blur. Without the familiar rhythm of work, shared meals, or family routines, the days can start to lose their shape. Morning blends into afternoon, weekdays melt into weekends, and suddenly it feels like time is slipping by, unnoticed, unmarked. But time, when gently guided, can become a source of comfort and even joy. I'm reminded of Harold, a retired piano tuner who found his days growing still after he left the profession he loved. At first, he welcomed the freedom, but before long, the quiet turned restless. He couldn't remember what day it was. Meals became irregular. His beloved piano sat untouched. Then one Monday morning, he decided to make a small change. He set a schedule. Monday mornings for grocery shopping, Wednesday afternoons for his favorite radio program, Fridays for baking bread. Every morning, a walk around the neighborhood. It wasn't rigid, but it gave him something to look forward to, something to ground him. His energy shifted, his mind felt sharper, and the days, once formless, began to feel like his again. Creating structure doesn't mean filling every hour or living by a strict timetable. It means placing a few gentle guideposts along your week. Maybe it's enjoying your morning tea on the porch at the same time each day. Maybe it's calling a friend every Sunday evening, or visiting the farmer's market every Saturday. These small rituals turn ordinary moments into meaningful ones. And more importantly, they offer a sense of rhythm, a heartbeat to your day that reminds you you're still moving, still engaged, still living with intention. You deserve days filled not just with time, but with time that feels yours. Even the quietest life can feel vibrant and full when marked by small acts of purpose. Begin with one. Let it guide you gently forward. Number 10. Managing sentimental items. Over the course of a lifetime, we gather more than just things. We collect memories. A teacup from a special anniversary, letters tucked into drawers, the sweater your spouse always wore on chilly evenings. These objects become symbols of moments, people, and chapters we hold dear. But as comforting as these items can be, holding on to too many can slowly transform your home from a haven into a museum of the past, one that feels heavy rather than healing. I think of Evelyn, a retired nurse who had been married for over 40 years. After her husband passed, she couldn't bring herself to let go of his things. His shirt still hung in the closet. His slippers sat by the bed, untouched. It felt like letting go of him, she said softly. But over time, Evelyn began to notice something. Every room whispered with sorrow. The clutter no longer brought comfort, but a lingering ache. With the gentle support of her daughter, Evelyn began sorting through his belongings. They lit a candle, played his favorite music, and chose to keep the items that truly stirred joy in her heart. A watch he wore every day, a framed photo from their wedding, a few handwritten notes. The rest she lovingly parted with. And as she did, her home began to feel lighter. She cried, yes, but she also smiled. Letting go doesn't mean forgetting. It means making room for clarity, for light, for now. If you're holding on to objects that overwhelm more than uplift, consider this. Take photos of the items you want to remember, write a short story about what they meant to you, and keep only the treasures that truly touch your soul. Choose memories over material. Your home should reflect your heart, not just the love you had, but the life you're still living. Make space for it. You deserve that gentle freedom. Number 11, preparing for emergencies. When you live alone, one of the most empowering things you can do for yourself is to be prepared. Not out of fear, but out of love and care for your own well-being. Emergencies don't give us notice. A sudden power outage, a health scare, or a winter storm can turn an ordinary day into a real challenge. And in those moments, knowing you're ready can replace panic with calm. I remember the story of Frank, a retired postmaster living in a quiet rural town. He had always been self-reliant and proud of it. So when a snowstorm hit one January evening and the power went out, he figured he'd just wait it out like he always had. But this time was different. The outage stretched into days. His phone battery died. The house grew colder. With no backup lights or way to reach his family, he found himself wrapped in blankets, feeling not just cold, but vulnerable. After that experience, Frank made a promise to himself. The next week, he put together a small emergency kit, a power bank for his phone, a few battery-powered lanterns, canned food, extra medications, and a written list of emergency contacts taped to the fridge. "I don't ever want to feel that helpless again," he told his neighbor. "And now, I don't have to." Preparing for emergencies is not about expecting the worst. It's about giving yourself the tools to meet the unexpected with confidence. Start with the basics: bottled water, shelf-stable food, a flashlight, backup batteries, and any essential medications. Keep your phone charged as a habit and consider investing in a portable charger just in case. If you live in an area prone to storms, wildfires, or heat waves, take a moment to learn where the nearest shelter or emergency services are. Write it down. Share it with someone you trust. You deserve the peace of mind that comes from knowing you're not just hoping things will go smoothly, you're ready if they don't. Because taking care of yourself in advance is one of the most powerful ways to preserve your independence. Number 12, organizing your finances. When you live alone, keeping your finances in order isn't just about money, it's about peace of mind. It's easy to let things pile up. Unopened mail on the kitchen counter, bills misplaced, or subscription services quietly draining your bank account. Over time, this disorganization can quietly build into stress, unseen but deeply felt. I'm reminded of Martha, a retired school secretary who prided herself on always staying organized. But after her husband passed, she found herself overwhelmed. Papers stacked up. She missed a utility payment and didn't even notice until her service was briefly interrupted. "I thought I was managing," she said, "but I didn't realize how much I had let go." With the help of her niece, Martha created a simple system. They set up automatic payments for her essentials, electricity, water, and rent, so she never had to worry about due dates again. She gathered all of her key documents, insurance, bank records, her will, and placed them neatly in one folder she kept by her desk. She even started checking her bank statements once a month and found she'd been paying for a streaming service she hadn't used in nearly a year. It wasn't about becoming a financial expert, it was about giving herself clarity and control again. Start with one step. Set reminders on your phone or mark a calendar to review your statements monthly. If possible, enable autopay for recurring bills. It removes the mental burden and helps prevent missed payments. Designate one spot in your home for important financial documents and review them now and then to ensure they're up to date. And don't be afraid to ask for help. Whether from a trusted family member, a financial advisor, or even a local community service, getting support to organize your finances is not a weakness. It's a wise act of self-care. You're not giving up control. You're protecting it. And once the practical side is handled, something beautiful happens. You can shift your focus back to what really matters. The things that bring you joy, the people you love, the quiet morning coffee without the hum of worry in the background. Because when your finances are in order, life feels lighter, your days feel freer, and most of all, you feel more confident knowing you're not just getting by, you're thriving with intention. We've covered so much today, and I hope these reflections have gently reminded you of the power you hold to shape this chapter of life with intention and joy. Living alone is not a sign of solitude, but a beautiful invitation to reconnect with your own rhythm, values, and dreams. It's often in the quietest routines, a warm cup of tea, a short walk at sunrise, or time spent with a cherished hobby, that we find the deepest peace. These aren't just habits. They are small affirmations that your life is still rich with meaning, depth, and possibility. If something in this video spoke to you, don't hesitate to like, subscribe, and stay with us on this journey. There's more ahead to support and uplift you. And if you feel inspired, drop a quick "still thriving" in the comments. It's a small way to honor your resilience. Remember, you are not alone. You are wise, strong, and beautifully capable of building days filled with light and purpose. Stay tuned. Our next video will explore the gentle routines that can transform your mornings into moments of calm and strength. Until then, may each day bring you comfort, clarity, and quiet joy.